Welcome to Go Get Great, the podcast for aspiring entrepreneurs and ambitious small business owners. I'm your host, Brittany, owner of Brittany Miller Socials and mother of 3. Go Get Great is all about helping you make life and business work together. You'll learn about the fumbles that helped get me and my guests to where we are today so you don't have to make them. So come join the journey with Go Get Great. Good morning. So my guest today is a fellow social media manager and a mom of 2 living in Collingwood. She has an honest and kind approach to her social media and her business, which I absolutely love. And she is determined to change the way that we all look at online marketing. She's really passionate about creating communities and contributing to the growth of small businesses and social causes. Amanda LePaine is the owner of Breeze Social Co. And I think you can tell why I'm super excited to welcome her to our podcast today, because we really share some similar goals and values. And it's so nice to have a friend to talk shop with. So welcome, Amanda. How are you today?
Thanks for having me. I'm good. How are you?
I am good. A little busy, but I feel like that's just the life of social media managers.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. And moms. Yeah. So my listeners have heard my story about how I got started with social media, but I know everyone comes from kind of a different background. So I'm super curious, how did you get doing what you do?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story. So when I actually had a corporate job, I was a buyer for the Hudson's Bay for a number of years, but I always really had a passion and was interested in doing my own like Instagram stories, like before there were reels, like a long, long time ago, 10 years ago, before Instagram was super cool.
Mm-hmm.
I spent a lot of time and people were always like, you're really good at this. Like, how do you know how to do this? How do you know how to hashtag? And it just was something
Mm-hmm.
that I kind of fell into. Um, but how I started to actually, get into it for work is I took a course in digital marketing that
Oh.
briefly touched on social media as it did like email marketing, SEO,
Mm-hmm.
websites. And I actually didn't think I would do any social media. It wasn't really something
Oh.
that I thought I would do. And once I got done the
Mhm.
course, I was like, I don't really like all the other stuff. I was still really, I know, right? It's funny how things work out. So
Mhm.
yeah, and I decided to just really focus and like niche down on doing socials because it's something that actually sparks joy for me. I'm not
Mhm.
a hater of social media. I know a lot of people out there are like, it's bad for us, but I don't know. I mean, it's a way to get the message out since the pandemic. It's really tricky to reach people.
Mhm.
That's kind of how we interact with people now, right? So that's kind of
Mhm.
how it all started.
Absolutely. And I get a lot of people in my role too that are like, "Oh, like I'm so glad I met you. Like I want you to work for me. I hate doing social media."
Mhm.
And every time someone says that, I'm like almost a little bit dumbfounded. I was like, "But you started your business because what you love what you're doing, and social media is literally just you telling the world what you do."
It's really a big piece of it. And I understand that some small businesses don't really love it because it is a big time commitment. It used to be
Mm.
you could post like once a week, just a single static square and get all this engagement. And now it's like, how many times a week? And now I got to make reels and now I have to show up on stories and show my face. And it's like
Mhm.
a whole thing now. It's like a whole production. So I can understand why small businesses who are already doing 100 other things every day are like, ooh, don't love this. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's unfortunate, but you're so right. Like we're not just social media managers anymore, and we're not just entrepreneurs. We're like full-blown production companies with like copywriting and like
No.
everything else under the sun.
Yeah, it's so true. Like have a lot of clients that we just do like the 12 squares a month and they're super happy with that. But then there's all these people that come out of the woodwork and they're like, no, I want full blown reels, like little mini productions of what's happening in my shop, in my store, for my service business. And can you clip together a bunch of things and add trending music? And yeah, it's a whole like it's a whole thing now. And I think just with the amount of times people are actually spending just watching video, they don't even look at feed anymore on Instagram or Facebook. Like
Hmm.
it's kind of a necessary evil now to be able to post videos. Yeah.
It's constantly changing and shifting, which, is great sometimes and frustrating others. But
Yeah.
I feel like everyone kind of has that expectation that even when they work with a social media manager, that's what they're going to get. And they understand how much work it is in the sense that they don't have time to do it. But then when it comes to going, okay, well, this is the cost of this investment, they're like, whoa, 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 wait, what do you mean? Like, that's a lot of money. Be like, well, yes, we've just established how much time it takes to do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. I know one way I try to break it down for folks is when I figure, okay, so you're doing 12 posts a month and we're going to throw in a couple of reels that I can film with you or for you. Well, is that going to take like 10 hours a month off of your plate? Well, how much time could you then go spend doing other things to make money? And let's, if it's like a quick
Mm-hmm.
strategy meeting once a month and then you can approve the post for 20 minutes, it's really taking like, giving you 8 hours back of your life is how I try to spin it to people so they understand like it's worth the investment that you can then I have a whole day back in your month to go do other things that actually bring you joy and you know you can
Mm-hmm.
in your shop more or taking on more clients or whatever. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, the goal is obviously with social media to also be generating income from what you're doing. So not only are you saving people time and that they're not creating the content, but hopefully you're also generating sales with what it is that you're posting. So it's kind of a little bit of a double win there.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm. So, since we're talking about reels, I know that in the business world, we call this a signature offer. And what you are most known for is your reels training. Can you share a little bit more
Yeah,
about that and maybe some like quick tips for our listeners about what they
sure.
can do to upgrade their reels?
Yeah, so the whole thing about reels is that it's kind of a necessary evil and you have to do them even if it's just simply clipping together stills and you drop them into Canva. But if you can do some really authentic fun, add some tunes, add the captions, reels to just spice up your social because the reach of a reel versus a static post, as we know, is much greater and you're going to reach a new audience. You're going to be getting, more eyes on your content. Um, yeah, but the whole Reels thing really happened for me when they first dropped. I was reading a blog and I was like, what is this? And I was on a networking chat group in Collingwood during the pandemic, and a woman said to me, hey, do you know how to make Reels? And I was like, oh, I've read about them, but I don't know much. And she was like, you need to figure that out, girl. And I was like, hmm. And so away I went and like
Mhm.
watched a bunch of videos, played around with it, made a lot that I would never have posted. Um, and then I slowly got to doing a lot of in-person training in my town in Collingwood or
Mhm.
the South Georgian Bay area where I can like meet with people. But then my business coach and your business coach, the same gal, Amanda Wilson Chiochi, said to me, like, you need to figure out a way to get this from not one to one, but one to many. So how can you figure out a way to have this so you can be doing it on Zoom and teaching people that are not necessarily just in our town here, so you could be, just like a greater reach. So I went down a bit of a rabbit hole of like figuring out like how can I do this? And I was watching YouTube, and it's so nice to be able to see like somebody talking to you and the tutorials happening beside that, but obviously reels are portrait, not landscape. Um, so I did a ton of sort of like
Mhm.
video recording of myself and screen recording of actually doing it. And then I hired a good girlfriend of mine, Kimberly Vincent, who also lives in Collingwood, to help me do the voiceover because you need like a proper
Ooh.
mic.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then we dropped it all into a Google like a slide so that I'm able to present it and it has like, doesn't sound screechy or anything. It's just, yeah, it worked out
Mhm.
really well, but it probably took me a month to put it together, like from the framework to the filming to the voiceover to building it into
Mhm.
Google. And but now I can,
Wow.
so now I can really reach a lot more people and I can do a lot more remote like groups or like I've done some there's a group of ladies in the South Georgian Bay, but they don't all live in Collingwood, and they meet once a week for, to talk about their businesses. And so we just all got on Zoom, and I could walk through everything. And there's like cheat sheets as to where do you go in? How do you find the music? What music is trending? How do you add
Mhm.
clips?
I
So
love it.
yeah, yeah, that was a last fall's project that I did before Christmas, and it's just kind of taken off since then. So yeah,
Mhm.
hopefully reels don't go away because it's been it's been good.
I can't imagine that they will. And I've had so many people that are like, teach me how to make reels. And I obviously was not as dedicated as you to sit down and figure out the logistics of it. So for any of you guys that are listening, definitely connect with Amanda. You're at Breeze Social Co on Instagram.
At breeze_social. Yeah.
Okay. I will make sure it's linked in the show notes because I'm not at a place in my business where I'm going to be launching Reels training anytime soon. So if you want some help, definitely go and talk to Amanda.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, what are some tips that our listeners can do to help kind of up their real game right now? Do you have any like go to recommendations?
You know what I would say if you haven't done them before is to start small and just go slow. I feel like there's a lot of pressure. You hear from a lot of these like silly gurus, like you have to post or do a 90-day reel challenge. Like that's
Mm,
insane. The amount of burnout that's going to come from that if you're already running a business. So I always say to people, like, put it in your content calendars. You're mapping out your monthly strategy to do one reel a month. And it's probably going to take a couple of hours. But
mhm,
then once it's done, it's like, then you don't have to do it again for another month. And then slowly over time, just start to build it up. And don't start with a super long one where you have to memorize a script or you're adding transitions or anything too crazy.
mhm,
Like, walk before you run, because I feel like if it's too much, you kind of just throw up your hands, because I do get the sense from people who are pretty tech savvy that reels can make them feel a bit stupid and not to,
mm,
like, you know what I mean? Like, I think you kind of shy away from trying something new because because it makes you feel like, why can't I do this? Like, I know how to do all these other things.
mhm,
That would be my main tip and takeaway, is to start slow, start short. 15 to 30 seconds is perfect for reels. You can do a
mhm,
little bit of research on what a great trending audio is and stick to your niche, because I find I'll be watching and it's like, oh, you see like somebody's doing like a bunch of meal prep things, and then you go to look at their profile and they're a business coach or something. It's like, okay, well, that's cool that you also like to meal prep, but like keep it, in the beginnings, keep it concise and in within your niche, because you want to be attracting, it's being shown to a bunch more people than your static posts. So you really want to make
mhm.
sure that, yeah, so you're really keeping to your niche. So when people land on that reel, they're going to get to know a bit about what you do. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. I feel like I am telling people this all the time, and then I'm watching stuff they're posting and I'm just like, question mark.
Yeah.
And as a business owner, I know that it can sometimes be easier to follow some of these trending audios, even if they don't feel 100% related, because you're like, man, like I'm getting so many new followers. This is great. But in my mind, and you just actually published a blog post about this the other day, kind of some of the behind the scene metrics that can track your success. Bringing money in for your business is more important than having followers. I would rather have 100 people that are ready to buy something when I launch it than 1,000 people and it's crickets, because it doesn't matter how many followers you have if they are not the people that are going to want to invest in your products or your services.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a big issue with like the vanity metrics of social media. And it happens sometimes when I take discovery calls from potential new clients. The first question is like, how many more followers? It's like, well, you know, what is the goal here? Are you looking to have more people like in your sales funnel and social media being top of funnel and trying to work down to
Mm-hmm.
get people to your website, to hopefully booking a discovery call or showing up at your shop to buy something? The follower thing, like you can go buy a list of followers if that's more what you're after, and
Yep.
completely destroy your account. But
Mm-hmm.
to do it organically is really the correct way to do it, and to build those relationships and spend time engaging on the platform and sharing about yourself and actually being authentically interested in what other people are doing with their businesses and in their lives. That's the real way to make those connections and to work those into a sales funnel, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I was actually just talking to a client about this the other day. I was like, oh, congratulations. Like we hit 1,500 followers on your account. And we've been working together for about a year. And she was at like 1,200 when we started. So it doesn't seem like a huge increase to have a social media manager that's posting, 12 times a month for you. But she's grown by that much. She's also lost followers along the way. So, like, that's pretty decent growth for a business. I feel like that is a realistic organic growth strategy. And she's like, and that's great. But then she's comparing her page to another business in her city who like magically blew up overnight. And I was like, you know what? It does happen. And that's really cool. But you have different strategies, you have completely different products and target audiences. So there's
Mhm.
nothing to say that even if we knew what they were doing and replicated it to like a T, that you would have the same results. And I feel like the comparison game on social media is huge because you can't see that behind the scenes stuff. You have no idea what their engagement is like, how much sales money they're bringing in. So the only thing you can see are those vanity follower metrics. So how do you help coach your clients kind of
Mhm.
past that?
Yeah, I think if it's an issue of getting hung up on like how many followers can I gain in a year, then if that's more the focus, then it is for sure worth running some monthly or weekly Facebook and Instagram paid ads through Ads Manager on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that is a way to very quickly reach way more people, because as we know with the algorithm, you're only being seen, your content's really only being seen by like somewhere between 25 and 35 of your followers. So
Mm-hmm.
if you want to pay to play, you're going to get it out there more and pass your, layer of, followers that you already have.
Mm-hmm.
So it really just depends. I don't know. I just, try to, stay true to what you're up to. And if it's more of an organic thing and you're happy to let it slowly grow, but if you feel like you're in a rush and you want to have like to show that you have all of these followers, then you have to throw money at it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think that that's a really good point too. And as much as the algorithm's like, that's not how it works, because I watched the video that they shared last week about the algorithm update, and they're
Yeah.
like, we don't give priority to people that pay us for it. And I was like, and you may not think that you do, but I guarantee that's what's happening, because they're a
Yeah.
business too, and like they've got to make money.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even like the paid ads versus organic, for sure, you're gonna get way more people to your site or whatever
Mm-hmm.
your app download or whatever you're trying to do versus organic. Um, and even the accounts that participate in community engagement versus the accounts that kind of just post and ghost, as they say,
Mm-hmm.
growth strategies there are going to be significantly different. You have to spend time on the app. You have to like literally set a timer and go on there for a few minutes every day, respond to your DMs, respond to your comments, go
Mm-hmm.
in and, be a hype girl or person for other small businesses that are out there putting great content out there, and to show that you're actually being a contributing part of the community on the platform. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So I primarily in my business focus on organic growth strategies for myself and my clients. Not that I'm against paid advertising, but I've seen it done wrong so many times that it's just very frustrating. So if I have clients that want to do it, then that's fine. I will help them try and do it. And kind of my rule of thumb is when you're doing this, more is more. Like you need to, it can't just be like a very basic post, like I've got a 50% off BOGO sale going on. Like it needs to be very detailed about who you are, what you do, who you serve, or like what it is that you offer and why someone's going to want to pay attention, because we're constantly bombarded with so many social media messages. And I'm not going to take the time to do my research on a company that just magically shows up in my feed with the paid advertisement label on it, unless the info is right there and I can very quickly and easily see why this would be directly relevant for me. So for those people listening that want to do this, do you have any tips to kind of help them with their paid ad strategy?
Yeah, for sure. So I think, when it comes to paid ads, it's kind of like it's like courting somebody or dating. Like you don't just show up and you're like, buy this, like there is a bit of an awareness phase of like getting
Mm-hmm.
to know, and it's showing up a few times in the feed. So you really have to, when you're starting those campaigns, start out light. You don't want to just be like right away in somebody's face asking them to convert to a sale before you've done any of the awareness piece of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when it comes to the whole paid ads thing, like you can now run the ads on Instagram, which is fantastic because there's so many small businesses that are just done with Facebook. They don't even, really spending the time to go through and make sure the placements are done correctly. Like you don't have to do it in Marketplace. Why would you? Why are you running an ad in Facebook Marketplace? Like you have to make
Mm-hmm.
sure you're running it in the right spots too. So it is a very detailed and expensive road to go down if you're going to do it. But for some people, if you need to do it and you need to get more hits on your website, it's for sure like it's if you can turn it on, it's the quickest way to get it done.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And I think that you kind of hit on the really big point there, is that it's not a once and done kind of project. You can't just promote one post and expect to see the dollars come rolling in. It needs to be a longer ongoing strategy. And actually, what I've been learning about and hearing from a lot of people is that sometimes the best things that you can promote are actually the free things in your business, because that's that introductory awareness piece. They're more likely to follow you or subscribe to your email list because they've seen something for free. And then actually down the road, once they're kind of through the bottom of your funnel with additional social media posts and more emails and things like that, then that's where you're actually going to see the money coming back in. So it is much more of a long-term kind of plan.
Yeah, it's like dating. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
for
I
sure.
love that. So we've been talking a lot about social media, and I know that we've been talking about Instagram, but I don't know whether that's clear to the people that we've been chatting about. So I know that that's personally my favorite. I know I probably shouldn't pick favorites, but I just love how aesthetic Instagram is and how community focused and driven it is. Is that kind of your favorite platform, or do you have another one that you enjoy the most?
Yeah, I do like Insta, and I would say it's probably for me my main funnel for connecting with other small businesses that I could potentially help and support them through their social media, journey.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do like I was all over the reels and I was super excited when they all came out, and like the first year like my account grew because I posted a ton of reels like all the time, but it was so easy because nobody else was doing it, and so you get on like a trend and all of a sudden it's harder now because now everybody's making reels, so it's harder
Mm-hmm.
to really have an impact and get through all of the noise because there are way more accounts doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when did Mosseri say it? A few months ago, he was saying about Instagram, we are going to start prioritizing photos again. And I was kind of relieved because I feel like Reels rubbed some people the wrong way. For sure, the photographer communities were like, really? Instagram was
Mm-hmm.
all about photos and like sharing your
Mm-hmm.
experience and storytelling. And now it's just all these, amateur videos. So I'm kind of digging that, and I'm back into like mapping out my grid. And for a while there, I was kind of like, it was just more about getting your reels out and not being so concerned with how your grid looked.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm slowly getting back to it and like eyeballing my clients if that's a concern of theirs or an interest to make sure that things are lining up and there's not too many of this, that, and the other thing in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but my absolute favorite, and people are going to kind of maybe eye roll or cringe a bit, is I love TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. How come? Do share.
I feel like the algorithm knows me so well. Like, and it did not take
Okay.
long for it to figure me out. Like, yeah, that algorithm just makes me drool. Like, it is so smart. It's so intuitive. And I know
Mm-hmm.
it does get a bad rap and it's in the news and it's, a company from that's, not from North America and all
Yeah.
that stuff. But the content creators on there are next level, like, and how you can
Okay.
actually monetize it and be doing meal prep videos or funny mom content, or I don't know, like it's
Mm-hmm.
just to me, if I want to doom scroll and enjoy and laugh and learn things, that is the platform that I will spend more time on. Instagram I go on for work, but I love
Okay.
really, yeah. And I don't actually have any TikTok clients just because my client base tends to trend a little bit more mature. But
Mm-hmm.
I do TikTok myself, and I just get a riot out of how much fun it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm curious because TikTok is not my primary platform. How different is it actually from Instagram? You said that the algorithm like knows you really well. Do you find that you get a lot of like growth from the platform?
Yeah, see, when I'm on TikTok, I don't necessarily worry too much about that. I'm more just on there to enjoy
Mm-hmm.
and like, I don't even really do a lot of community engagement. It's not like a work funnel for me. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
somewhere that I go to enjoy and watch creators. And sometimes I do get some tips like, I've got some different clients that, I've got some yoga instructors and I've got a gal that makes tea. So when she was like,
Ooh.
let's make a tea reel, obviously I went to TikTok to like that, like just the ASMR, like the sounds, the clips, the music. It's just for me, it's like very, very well done. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
I'm
You know,
surprised you're not on TikTok more. You're so young.
oh, thank you. I think that's a compliment.
Mhm.
I've done some TikTok, but I haven't seen the algorithm knows me. But maybe that's because I haven't really interacted on it. I will say that considering that I have a grand total of 5 followers on my TikTok video and I have about 500 on Instagram, there are certain videos that I put up on TikTok that far exceeds my reach on Instagram, which is very interesting, a little bit confusing, but interesting to see that the reach is so much better on that platform.
Well, there are less people on TikTok, so there's
Mm-hmm.
that bit of it. Yeah, I do think that it is, I've read this too. I think it is, if you put in the time, it is easier to grow just because there's literally less people on TikTok. And if
Mm-hmm.
you can get into some sort of a niche, then it can be, and I've tested it too. Like I'll upload the same video to both platforms and I'll get way more views on TikTok. That doesn't convert
Mm-hmm.
to anything because I'm not using it as a funnel, but
Yep.
like if I get 500 views or 1,000 views on an Instagram reel and I'll upload it to TikTok and like 4,000 people see it, it's like, hmm, something there.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's very true. It's very true. I have all of these, I have a long list of projects that I would like to work on in my business, like utilizing my CRM more and like automating stuff and finishing my website rebrand. But TikTok and Pinterest are kind of really up there for me this year as things that I would like to dive into more because a lot of the content that I'm creating right now, I've been too busy for reels. But is ideal content for those platforms in the sense that I usually do like doing a lot of video and, I'm creating podcasts and I'm blogging actively. So Pinterest is kind of a really great place to kind of drive traffic back to my website. So I'm like trying to wait until my website's finished and then I want to go down the Pinterest rabbit hole.
Yes. Yeah. Tell me about it. Like, how much time are you spending on there?
Mm.
And is that your favorite?
No, I think Instagram is my favorite. I might like Pinterest more. I haven't actually really done anything on Pinterest. I've kind of been like observing and learning from afar. So I do know that like lifestyle images with text over them are kind of like the go-to things like infographics. And I really like creating that kind of content. Not that I've done a lot of it, but I enjoy, adding value in that way. So I'm really curious to spend some time and see how that works. But what I do know is that Pinterest is very much an SEO platform. You type something in, and if you've got those keywords in your post, then things are going to come up, which is really awesome. Because as much as I love Instagram and the community that it has, because you don't really have a lot of conversations on Pinterest, at least not that I've seen. When you spend so much time creating content as an entrepreneur, it is very frustrating that the shelf life of it is like 48 hours for static posts. Reels you get a little bit longer from, but you spend so much time on it and you're just like, and okay, and on to the next. Like I'd love
Yeah,
to kind of use Pinterest more because I hear that it lives longer.
that's fantastic. I'll have to maybe go down the rabbit hole on Pinterest too, because yeah, sometimes I have to take apps off my phone because, when you're moving or redecorating or planning a birthday party, you can get really like, oh, this is so much fun. And then you're like, okay, I've been on here a long time. It's time. So,
Yeah. Yes. I go down the Pinterest rabbit holes every time my child has a birthday and I'm looking for party themes and decor ideas. And I was like, oh, this looks good. And then it actually comes to doing it. And I was like, I did not do any of it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah. I had another question here. Oh, we talked a little bit about the algorithm update that they were talking about last time, but I kind of wanted to touch on that a little bit more because I mean, I tell my clients this all the time. It is less about what the platforms are doing and more about what you are doing and the value you're providing for your audience. And I feel like that's kind of what they were talking about. There are so many different algorithms on Instagram and so many different ways that you could try and hack the algorithm. I put that in air quotes because I don't know that that's actually a thing, but I feel like the underlying piece that everyone should know is that it is really all about that value add piece and creating content that your people want to engage with. And no matter what the algorithm is doing, your core people that are likely to buy from you, as long as you keep, sharing tutorial videos or like funny content, if that's what they're coming to you for, if you keep doing that, no matter what happens, you're still going to have your audience.
Yeah, I think that is really a big piece of it. That if you can, as you say, like the educational piece of it, I find for me, spending the time to make like longer form videos where I'm explaining and screen sharing certain things that are happening on the platform, those for me are like pretty high value. When I go back to look at my analytics, it's like, okay, this video, like people were sharing it, people saved it to come back to review it later, perhaps. And it's more about those metrics, how many people saw my profile, how many people went to the site, than like a like or or a comment about it. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then the entertaining stuff too. I think when it comes to video, and people are on social media because it's fun as well. So if you can get a laugh out of somebody and stick in somebody's mind as somebody who's entertaining, when they're on the
Mm-hmm.
platform and they see you doing like a fun voiceover or doing something really silly, like that's all great. Like that's just a way for you to show if you are a funny and silly person,
Mm-hmm.
that that's a side of you that you want to share because it's just getting you to connect with people. And then when you bump, like I live in a small town, I bump into people and I do have red hair. So oftentimes people are like, I have seen you on Instagram. Like I don't really look like a lot of other people, but people will say to me, like, I love your reels or I love the funny videos that you did. And it's like, that's so
Mm-hmm.
nice. Like, if you put in the time to do it and it really resonated or made somebody giggle
Yes.
today, that to me is like, yeah. And
Mhm.
maybe they're not going to ever use my service, but hopefully that I'm top of mind when they have a friend who's like, I need someone to help me with my social media. Hopefully that, I pop into their head at that moment and they pass on my name. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I feel like that's kind of the underrated piece of social media that people don't forget about. Even if they are like, okay, well, is it generating money for me? Be like, well, like you said, maybe it's not generating money from that specific person, but those referrals, that's where it's
Yeah.
at in businesses. So it's
Yeah.
nice that you kind of have that openness and awareness in your strategy too, and that you're not so focused on some of those numbers. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you have to promote yourself sometimes, but when you're, mapping out your content strategy and talking about the pillars, like you have to promote those posts as well, but also, being relatable, being entertaining, and giving value to people because that's why they're on there, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they're not on there like bombarded with sales. They're on there to enjoy and connect, right?
Mm-hmm. For
Yeah.
sure. Did you have any other, social media tips or best practices that you want to share? Because I kind of want to ask you what it's like being a mom and entrepreneur at the same time.
Oh gosh. Well, you know what? I am over the top organized with things because I'm always kind of waiting, and this might sound a little bit like not negative, but I'm just always waiting for the other shoe to fall. Like a
Mm,
huge project falls into your lap, and then the kid is sick at the same time. So I try to keep things pretty organized, and I work about a month out with all of my clients.
mm,
Just so I've got like a good workflow and I'm not, feeling overwhelmed at any given time during the month. And yeah, try to keep things pretty
mhm.
mapped out. Um, one of my love languages is Asana, the project management tool. And I
Oh,
have, yeah, Amanda Wilson Chiochi got me on that a few years ago. And that changed my life when it comes to managing social media because there's a calendar view. You can pivot it to a board view. It's like Trello, but way
mm,
better.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I find that that really helps. It's a way to connect with clients and you're not sending a million emails and you're not fussing around with Google Docs and yeah. So for me, that would be like a tip to keep things very organized and still be able to see it in a calendar view.
Okay. Interesting to know. I've heard some people that really love it, and then some people say that there's very limited functionality in it. So I haven't looked into that yet, but maybe I'll circle back to that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I like personally couldn't live without it for sure, but everyone's different, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yes. And it sounds like that works really well because maybe you're a little bit more of a visual person. It sounds like it's kind of a visual
Yes.
platform, which is cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us more about life out of business. You're a mom.
Yeah, I've got two kiddos. My daughter will be 13 in a couple of months. So we're entering that kind of like preteen teen phase. So that's been
Mm-hmm.
interesting. And we are now almost the same size. So she's borrowing all of my clothes, all of my shoes, all of my purses, all of my makeup, all of my nail polish. I
Mm-hmm.
go looking for things. And yeah, she's having a broke sister following you around, going like, let's just keep these good times rolling. Let's go to Starbucks. Let's go hit the consignment store in town. And it's a lot. It's intense. And she's TikToking and she's making reels and she's
Mm.
snapping. Hmm.
Is
And then
she, are
I've
you
got
like
a,
grooming her to be your like apprentice in the business or?
yeah, I literally showed her maybe 2 years ago how to make a reel
Mhm.
and it's stuck. She was by
Oh.
far like the best student that I've ever had. She retained everything. And now because she's got her own little slime making business, which is very cute.
Oh.
And she sells them at school. Yeah. But yeah, like for that generation, social media is just like it is no big thing. They have figured it out. It's just like a chip inside their brain. They know how it works. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of mind-boggling how good they are at doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Makes
And
me
then
wonder if we're going to be replaced very soon.
I mean, yeah, but there
Yeah.
will always be people that won't want to do DIY, but
Mm-hmm.
oh, we could be replaced by Gen Z. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that would be interesting. But
Mhm.
I'm not really pushing her to do a lot on social media because I feel like it's such a young age to already
Mm.
be on social media.
Yeah.
Um, but that is how they communicate. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's different than like just hopping on your bike and just biking around the neighborhood to see who wants to hang out, right? They all
Mm.
have
It's
to
very
message
true.
first, and
Yeah.
yeah,
It
I
makes
know
me
you've got a little
wonder.
one.
I was going to say, it makes me wonder how it's going to be with my kids when they get to be your daughter's age, because I don't think you've been in business. You've been in business longer than me, about 3 years, I think you said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it makes me wonder, um, so your daughter was 10 when you started, let's say. So my kids are like 2 and 3 when I'm starting. So how is social media going to impact them if I stay in this business for a long time? Because they're literally going to grow up with their mom being on social media all the time. Are they? I feel like it's going to be one way or the other. They're going to be like really on it all the time because they see mom doing it, or they're going to be like, I've seen my mom do this so much, I have no interest in it. So it's kind of curious to know how that
Yeah,
goes.
it's interesting. Like maybe they won't want to be in the family business, and that would be totally fine too. But
Hmm.
I try to have like around the kids, and it's so hard because phones ping and ping and ping. But like I try to put my phone away when they're around because
Hmm.
it doesn't even matter. I could be watching like a slug crawl across the floor doing something so boring, and my kids will be like, "What are you watching?" Like they want to. So I try to
Mm.
just like slip it in my pocket and not have it out too much when they're around because it's just like it's so addicting, you
Hmm.
know, for this
Yeah,
generation too.
absolutely.
Like,
So I was going to
yeah.
ask, what do you do to kind of have that work-life balance or work-life blend? So kind of setting boundaries and putting your phone away is one of the big things. Do you have anything else that you kind of do?
Yeah, so you know how Apple now, when you kind of swipe down, you can turn on focus. Well, I have set up about 18 different categories on there, and I literally have one called no Instagram. So there'll be no
Oh.
Instagram things like that. Apple not. So I can still see email, I can still see text, WhatsApp, and calls.
Mm-hmm.
But like after 4 o'clock, I don't need to know what's happening on Instagram. I don't need to know that my mom liked my post, like it's fine. I can check it tomorrow. So
Mm-hmm.
I put that on all flat so that I don't get
Okay.
any notifications. Yeah. And I really try to stick to it. I've got a work one, I've got a personal one. So on the weekend, obviously there's no social medias on there. There's no later app, there's no Asana
Mm.
pings, nothing. So yeah, and I really try to stick to it. And another thing I'm doing is Fridays, I try to do a screen time break day where I'm
Mm.
I don't take any client meetings and I don't go on social media. I don't go on my computer and I just like try to spend the time, like do other things, go for a hike, meet
Mm-hmm.
girlfriends for coffee, whatever it's going to be. But I just try to like give my brain that break because it can't be that great for us to be on there all the time, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's such a good point. I'm trying to do something similar. So I take Fridays off. We'll put that in air quotes. And it's a little bit more of a spend time with family day, like catch up on laundry and dishes and things like that I don't necessarily want to do on the weekends, but have to get done. But I also use that as kind of, and Amanda has shared this as like her CEO day. So I try not to book client meetings and I won't do work for clients, but I'll try and do stuff for myself. So I might plan some social media content or, respond to emails or things like that. That's probably not a CEO activity, but it still has to get done. So it's nice to
Yeah.
hear that you kind of take some of that time off as well. And not working on weekends is one of the things that I'm working on too. And it's kind of made a really big impact that my kids feel like they have my attention a couple of days of the week.
That's great to hear because you know what, you're in the trenches now with these little babies, but it goes so fast. And I remember when I had toddlers, when people would say that, I'd kind of roll my eyes. It's like, oh my God, this is taking forever. I feel like I'm tired and haven't slept much.
Mm-hmm.
But it does go so fast. And so if you can take like and just block off the weekend to be fully with them, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because you just don't get that time back. And Instagram will be there when you're back on Monday, right? You can pop
Yes,
back on and you've
absolutely.
missed things. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. And you know what? It took me having a third child to kind of appreciate how quickly that time actually goes. Like with my oldest two, I was like even more in the trenches and just like very busy and caught up in life. And this time around, I was like, you know what? Like I have a daughter who's going to be starting kindergarten in September. Like, where did the time go? So I'm very much enjoying the baby snuggles and all of those things because it's so fleeting.
Yeah, it is. I know. We've got my daughter and then my little guy, he's 9.5. And I can still lift him, but I'm kind of thinking like, oh my gosh, this went really fast. Like I would do anything to have another 5-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
The baby phase is a lot. Like I don't know if I would ever want to go back there, but like to
Mm-hmm.
have like another like just a couple more 5-year-olds coming up, it's just
Mm-hmm.
yeah. It's a magical time. They're so fun. They still want to hang with you. You're still
Mm-hmm.
cool in their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
but they're a little bit
Yeah.
more independent. You can kind of do some of those things with them, like shared hobbies. That's what I'm kind of, I don't want to say looking forward to because I don't want to wish away the stage that my girls are at, but I'm going to be able to sit down and like do a puzzle a little bit more consistently with my oldest, and we can start and do some crafts. And we've always read together, but now we're like actually getting into some books that are a little bit more engaging for mommy to read and not the board books that you get with like 5 words in them. So I'm looking
Yes.
forward to some of those things. And like even like family outings and activities, we get to do a little bit more now. Like I could take her bowling, or I don't know about mini golf. That might be a dangerous one for my legs, but we can do some of those things that I enjoy as well. So I'm very much looking forward to that stage.
Yeah, it's pretty magical. Like it's really the best part of life. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
And they grow quick, and the summers whiz by so quickly. You really only get like 18 fun summers with them, and then they're off to university, right? So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's good to just savor all the time. And you know what? You can work, nobody retires at 55 anymore. So it's like I think I have so many more years of working. I'd rather steal like little pockets of retirement on Fridays during ski season, hiking season, and just
Mm-hmm.
yeah, enjoy as much as we
Absolutely.
can before, yeah,
So how do you
before they're
like
gone.
life? How do you like life as an entrepreneur? Are you kind of enjoying it? I know some people are like, man, it's like a roller coaster. I love it, but I guess I've always been of the entrepreneurial nature. So,
Hmm. Well, having done both, like having worked in a corporate job, I like the entrepreneurial vibe a lot better. I feel like there is a bit of a loneliness aspect. You don't have someone like, unless you work in a co-working space, but my home office, I'm like, oh, I don't really see too many other people other than my pet or my husband during the day.
mm-hmm.
But it is what you make of it. And if you can get yourself out there and join as many groups and show up for like
Mm-hmm.
ladies networking or golf things, or like in Collingwood, we have the Collingwood Foundry, which is where I met today. And
Mm-hmm.
there's like such a great network of like wicked entrepreneurs making really cool, businesses and decisions. And yeah, I would never ever take a job again. Like mark my words, I'm knocking on wood right now that yeah, I have to be in control of my own schedule and just work with people that I want to work with. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
kind of past the point of having to take clients that maybe aren't going to be super respectful or not going to like
Mm-hmm.
understand what I'm trying to achieve. And so now I just, I'm with heart-centered people and I just pick who I'm going to work with. And yeah, in the long run, I think that that's, it's better for your mental health to be able to control your own destiny. And also, like you can make good money as an entrepreneur. You can control your expenses where you can,
Mm-hmm.
and you can work as hard as you want. You can scale back during summer seasons when your kids are home, or for me during ski season, which I'm obsessed with now that we live up in Collingwood. So like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like I love just to be able to control all of that.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
I love it so much too. It can be, a challenge sometimes. You have clients that maybe don't respect you or don't understand, or, the income can be somewhat unpredictable when you get started. But overall, it's such a fantastic opportunity, but it is not without learnings. So I'm curious, what would you say your
Mm.
biggest mistake or failure was that you've made, and kind of what did you learn from it?
Well, that like little voice that you get sometimes and it's telling you like, don't do that. Maybe don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I have ignored that voice a couple of times, probably a handful of times when I've
Mm-hmm.
done like a discovery call or met with somebody and they're interested in the service. And I'm like, oh, I don't think we're going to get on. The vibe is just not. And I'll do it anyways because I'm like, well, it's money. I should just take it on. And
Mm-hmm.
that has always bit me in the butt every single time that I have not listened to that small voice. So that would be for me like one of my bigger mistakes. And it is something that it took me a long time to figure out. Like maybe I'm a slow learner. Having a business coach definitely has helped. Like you have
Yeah.
to like check your boundaries, listen to that little voice. If you're getting a weird vibe, you are probably right. So I'm pretty good about it now. And
Mm-hmm.
however I get out of that discovery call going, I don't actually want to do this. Um, yeah, that for me is like that was a hard lesson. I feel like I'm a slow learner when it comes to that kind of stuff.
You know what? I probably would disagree with that. I don't think you are. I bet we kind of all go through that for a phase in our business, especially when you're just starting. Like, I know I do that a lot too. You know, people reach out and they're interested in working with me, and I'm like, I don't know about this, but I also know what my revenue numbers are, and we need the income. And, you know, it can be really difficult to kind of make some of those decisions. I was in that position the other day. A past client reached out and she's like, you know, I'd really like some help with my website. You did it for me before. You know, can we get together and chat about this? And at first I was like, yeah, okay. Like, I'll help you because I did it last time. And then I sat on it overnight and then I reached out to her the next day. I was like, you know what? I'm really sorry, but I don't have the capacity for this. It's not in my zone of genius, which is kind of a new concept for me, but it's not in my zone of genius and
Yeah,
it's going to take me a lot of time and I can't charge like my usual rates for it, right? Because it's not my area of expertise. So then that itself is a hard lesson to learn. Like, money is money when you're kind of just starting out, but I'm really trying to transition away from that and focus on what I'm actually good at, what I'm going to get people results for, and what's not going to take an abundance of my time to kind of learn how to do the job of someone else better.
that makes total sense. Yeah. And good for you to sleep on it and then be like, sorry, this just isn't going to work out. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
on to the next, right?
Yes. Yeah. So speaking of on to the next, I'm so curious because I know we're different human design types, but no, actually not. We're both many gens, aren't we?
Yeah, we're both Manny Gens.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah.
I was like, no, no, I didn't think about that. We are. So we are both very big goers and doers and all of the thingers. So I know that I've got a slew of projects on my plate right now. I'm trying to work on some new lead magnets for my audience. I still have to finish my website. I've got some courses that I would really love to launch soon. I just kind of introduced a new thing in my business called Content Confidence, which is all about teaching entrepreneurs how to kind of manage their social media better by giving them advice on like things they're actually posting. But what are you working on that you might want to share with us? What's on your agenda for this year?
On my agenda. Well, you know what? I feel like my second year, which was last year, was like all of the things, like the lead generation. I freshened my website up. I developed Reels training, which like
Ooh.
nearly killed me. So this year is like honestly, like I'm just kind of like enjoying being in a bit of a flow. I've got a wonderful roster of clients, and then I do a lot of Reels training on top of that that are like one-on-one or one-to-many. So
Mhm.
I'm kind of like, I don't know. But as a Manny Gen, I almost feel like I'm a little bit bored, which is going to be funny. Like I should just be, enjoying this time, taking Fridays off, going for
Mhm.
hikes, going to be at the beach doing paddle boarding. But as many
Ooh.
gens, we don't like to sit still for too long. So
No.
yeah, I will probably have to start thinking of some new fun things to do maybe in the fall. I'll just kind of get through the summer. But
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. It's like it's funny. Like I was so excited to everything's so streamlined and my revenue's been great. And then like 2 months
Mhm.
after that, I'm like, But I think for now I'm really gonna just enjoy like the Fridays off, the summer, being at the beach a lot in Blue Mountain. So yeah,
Mhm.
I don't have a very good answer for you on that one. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. You know what? It is so nice to hear that that phase of your
Yeah.
business is attainable for me because it just feels like, you know, it's nonstop going and doing. And, you know, part of it for me is that the income is not where I need it to be right now, but, you know, I'm barely into my second year of business. So I wasn't really expecting that. But you know, when you first get started, I don't want to say I did my business wrong, but I definitely very much fell into hustle culture for the last year. So there's just like so much stuff that I was like, okay, like I need to be on par with people that have been in business for like 5+ years. And that wasn't a realistic expectation. But then I had all these great ideas and I started all these projects. And as a manager, one of my things is really like seeing it through to completion, even if it doesn't necessarily align with me now. So I have all of these like outstanding things that have been nagging at me for a long time. And I was like, you know, I really want to kind of focus on finishing those off. But then I have all these new ideas that I'm actually excited and engaged about and that I also want to do. And it's just like, there's so much.
Yeah, it's intense. You know what? I always think when I feel like I could get drawn into that hustle culture, I have one of my like besties from like, I don't know, maybe 13 years ago. We met when our girls were little.
Mm-hmm.
And she has started many businesses. She's a graphic designer. She's amazing. She's got a master's in like environmental studies. And she told me when I decided to launch Breeze, she's like, I'll tell you this one thing, go slow. And it's like the words when I can get sucked into that, like, oh, a 90-day Reels challenge. No, that's ridiculous. That is going to burn me out by day 15.
Mm-hmm.
So I always remind myself, just go slow. And like it seems like everybody's hustling and bustling around, and it's just, yeah. it's crazy. Like you don't need to be doing that. Like just enjoy it, enjoy the
Mhm.
journey. You're on this path, like it's going to happen for you, being a manifesting generator. You're already kind of tempted to be in that hustle culture. So it's,
Yes.
pump the brake, right?
And I was
Yeah.
actually just talking to someone about this the other day. And when you start in that hustle phase, you end up taking on all of this stuff, which maxes out your capacity, whether it's clients or projects. And then you feel compelled to kind of keep that standard there and like sometimes exceed it. So, like I try and blog regularly and I try and podcast and I try and send out weekly emails to my email list and like monthly newsletters. And then I'm still trying to do my own social media and like 17,000 other things. And now that I'm kind of further into my business, I still need to grow, but I'm also at that point where I was like, I want to be done hustling, but how do I continue to, take on clients when I have all of these other things that I've also like committed to in my business? And it's kind of hard to scale back and step back and set those, boundaries where I take Fridays off and the weekends off and still hit all of those self-imposed milestones.
Yeah, that is super tricky. Yeah, I think, as you get further down to, maybe 5, 10 years, you will be able to scale and you
Mm-hmm.
will have people working for you that can help you with
Yes.
all of those things like keying
Mm-hmm.
posts and doing, keying emails and doing hashtag and SEO research for you. And like you can just do kind of like the more fun and client facing things, and those things just come with time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but the other thing too is like you have a lot going on. Like you've got the blogs, the podcasts, it's great. And you've got client stuff with socials and like well one thing that always anytime I sit with Amanda, our business coach, she always says like just niche down. Like what are you really good at? Don't take on these kinds of things, don't do those kinds of
Mm-hmm.
things, like and just really, really niche down. And that's how yeah, I just feel like then I don't have to keep up to date with like every change that's happening in any part of the digital world. It's like, okay, an
Mm-hmm.
Instagram update, I got that. I can handle that. That's, fine. But like
Mm-hmm.
updates to all the different platforms and all the different, things happening in the digital world, that's a lot to keep on top of with as a one person show. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. You're absolutely right. And there have been numerous occasions where she has told me that as well. And I guess in that case, I'm a slow learner because I
Yeah.
haven't
Is
niched down yet.
that what we're calling this podcast? The Slope Learners Podcast?
Hey, that could be a thing.
Name. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Okay. Before we wrap up quickly, I do want to ask if you have a favorite tool or resource that helps you rock social media. So you mentioned Asana earlier. Is there anything else that you want to share with our listeners?
Yeah. For sure. Like Asana is not specific to social media. I just find that it's helpful for social media management. But the one platform that I live and die by is a Canadian startup called Later Media, and that is a scheduling platform. And you probably are aware of it and use it too because it's the best one out there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I like the best time to post. I like the analytics report that I get every week. I like the hashtag support. For me, this is just like it makes life so much easier. I will never go into Meta, no offense, Meta, and keep posts in there ever again after knowing about Later. And I'm happy to pay for it so that posts go out and they don't end up, looking weird without spaces. And I'm not, yeah, like for me, it's just worth the investment to make sure that everything looks and the analytics piece of it is so amazing. So that for
Mm-hmm.
me is my number one favorite tool for social media management. And the
Mm-hmm.
fact that it's a Canadian company, I just love too.
I did not know that it was Canadian. So see, even I
Yeah,
learn things all the time. Um,
yeah.
I'm just going to share a personal story since it's very fresh and relevant. And I do like to ask other people what they've failed at recently. So I feel like it's only fair for me to talk about these things. So for a long time, like still currently, I guess, I've been using Meta to schedule content for my clients and for myself because I was of the mindset that I understand the bootstrapping entrepreneur phase, and that's where a lot of the clients that I'm working with kind of are in their business. So I was like, if there's a free option, let's use it. But I've actually been burned by Meta on multiple occasions. Most recently this week, I was trying to post something for a client, and the first time I posted, the reel was blurry and there was no caption. So then I fixed it. And then there were other issues. And then I kept trying to repost it again just as a static post. And it kept posting it without a caption. And it wasn't telling me like why any of this was happening. And it reflects really poorly on me. And like I feel frustrated that it's happening. And my client is now frustrated. And I was like, this is not a good representation of me in my business. So I'm actually going to be looking to switch all of my clients off Meta and onto something else, probably later, because I have used later before as well. But yeah, no offense, Meta, if you're listening to this, you totally aren't, but like,
Oh,
get your shit together.
it is so brutal. Yeah, I will never use it again. Never. Like I go in there, I'm like, it's so unuser friendly. I can't even believe that you call yourselves a tech company and this is what you're offering. Yeah. Later also has a really wonderful blog, and they also offer webinars, which I always sign on and do. Like there is so much learning that can happen there for
Mm-hmm.
if you're a DIYer or you're a social media manager, and like any of the new updates that happen with Instagram, that they'll send you an email about it. You don't even have to go looking. It's just, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Like as a social media manager, obviously I had to stay on top of some of this stuff and I check a
Yeah.
lot of different sources, but later is definitely one of them that I go to because they're very on top of it and they have really good insights. A lot of times it'll be like, we've tested this and this is the conclusion we've come to. And I was like, but is it? And then I'll test it myself and I'll be like, yeah, it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Hashtag debate, or where do you put the hashtags in the comments or in the caption, like all that stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, since you mentioned it, where do you like putting them? Because it is a hot topic.
Oh, you have to put them in the caption because that algorithm is reading the caption, not the comments, to sort the content. Yeah.
Thank you. Again, there are a lot of people that work with social media managers and then they're like, no. It's like, you don't think I've done my research before I just start suggesting things to you?
Exactly.
Okay, well, it was absolutely wonderful chatting with you today. It's so nice to have someone to like talk with. Everyone's like, "Oh, do podcasts about social media, teach us how to do social media." And then I sit down and I was like, "What do I talk about?" Because everything feels like something people should already know and they don't, but so how can people find you if they want more of you and your awesomeness? You do have some fantastic reels ideas and you share a lot of great social media content too. So you definitely want to give her a follow.
Yeah, on Instagram, I'm at breeze_social, and my website is breezesocial.co.
Yes. And definitely check her out. I mean, follow her on Instagram, but like I said, she did have a blog post and I'll link it in the show notes. So you were talking about some of the metrics to actually look for on Instagram and social media. And I thought that that was really helpful. So make sure you give that a good read. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And we will see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Go Get Great. I hope you found some useful tips and tricks that can help you make life and business work together. If what I said resonates with you, please share it on social media and don't forget to tag at Brittany Miller Socials so that I can celebrate you for taking those first steps towards achieving greatness. Remember, success doesn't happen overnight. It takes dedication, hard work, and a lot of spirit. So don't be afraid to dream big and go after what you want. Keep striving for greatness. You get closer with every step forward, no matter how small they may seem. Until next time, go get great.